One, two, three. There are three things that you as an insurance producer need to do in order to have really good success selling insurance. They are not necessarily earth-shattering, but when you do these three things, it's like a sweet melody. Everything sounds good. Three things. You do these three things and you're going to have some significant success selling insurance. You will set more appointments. You will win more signed broker of record letters. You will win more accounts when you're in a quoting process. And you're ultimately going to be able to write bigger accounts and just have simply more accounts over the course of the year. You will be able to write $100,000 in the first, say, 9 months. You'll be able to write about $250,000 if you're a newer producer in, say, the first 15 months of your business. If you do these three things. 1, 2, 3. What are these three things? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode of the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast. My name is Charles Specht, and I am excited to be able to talk with you today. Today, we're going to talk about three things as mentioned in that first sequence. Three things. 1, 2, 3. Count them up. Three things. You do these three things, and I am nearly 100% guaranteeing you that you are going to have some significant success that you haven't had before. Three things. And the first two I talk about a lot. The third one I don't talk about as much. I need to talk about it more. So I want you to stick with us. Stick with me here when I start to go through this. The first one is going to be talking about your micro niche. Okay? Yeah, I talk about it. I need to talk about it more. I'm never going to stop talking about it. I'm going to be doing a course on it very soon. I'm going to be doing a live training on micro niches. I talk about micro niches in my digital course, Millionaire Producer School, in my live producer sales training, Permission Producer School, which, by the way, the next cohort of the Permission Producer School starts on March 3rd, 2025. It goes through March 7th, 2025, just 5 days, 1 week. Lasts for about 2.5 hours per day, and I'm going to be teaching you everything you need to know for my entire sales process from A to Z. Permission Producer School. Go to permissionproducerschool.com. That's where you can see some information about it and get registered. permissionproducerschool.com. So when I am even talking and teaching through Permission Producer School, I focus on this particular issue of micro niching for about 2 days. 2 days, about 5 hours of training on how specifically to pick the most profitable micro niche for you. It's that important, and frankly, it's that specific. The answer is different for each person at a specific insurance agency in a specific geographic territory, and even based upon how big your book of business is right now or how long you've been in the business. The micro niches change. You have to be able to figure out where you're at now, what carriers you have access to, what's the appetite list, how many accounts are in your territory, at what size of accounts you're going to go after. There's so many different things to take into consideration in regards to micro niching. But if you don't get your micro niche figured out, you might do a lot of activity where your wheels are spinning. It's just that there's no traction to be able to get what you want. You will not set many appointments if you are a quasi-generalist out there trying to do prospecting. Everything works better when you're focused in a micro niche. And those clients of mine that have a strong micro niche tend to do better. Can I give you just an example? I won't say her name because she didn't tell me I could say her name. But I'll just tell you, she is a new producer that I'm working with. She's been working in the insurance industry for just about 2-3 months. However, her agency owner gets it, and the agency itself gets it. They are singularly focused in one main area. They are writing this particular class of business, this particular micro niche, and they're doing it in all the states. Okay? They're not going after 2 different types of micro niches. They're going after one in 50 different states. Okay. Their calls are not face-to-face. They're via Zoom because they're in states to state. So you're just going to have to do it that way. But I just want you to understand the power of micro niching. Okay? The power of micro niching. She's been in the business for about 2-3 months. Doesn't really understand insurance a lot, but I'm coaching her. I'm going through the process. We're putting together your differentiation. We're putting together your script. We're talking about how to ask for the broker of record letter, your 12-month time out of services. We are working through the process. And she's already gotten a couple BORs and just got one signed. It's $50,000 of commission, 50 grand. Okay. How many new producers can say that they get a $50,000 commission broker of record letter in the first couple of months of their career? Not too many. But here's the thing. I know she's probably going to get about 3 or 4 more of those before the year's over, as well as a number of $10,000, $20,000 accounts. Why is she getting $50,000? Because her agency owner gets it and doesn't allow them to write anything typically under 20 grand. Put together the list of the accounts they want to go after. They're very strategic. They're very structured. They know what kind of micro niche we're going after. And so we get results based upon what we're trying to go after. It really is that simple. It's that simple. If you created a unique strategic micro niche, you will be able to get the results that you want. Depending upon what you want, it's different for each person, but micro niching is that important. So if you don't have a micro niche, and I don't know, enjoy like scraping by. Enjoy, having enough money potentially to pay your bills, but not really having much more than that. That, my friends, is what I see as a difference, a main difference in having a strategic process on what we're going after and what we're not, versus somebody who says, well, I don't want to miss an opportunity, so I'm just going to be a blanket generalist out there. Then you're not attracting anyone. That's not what you want. You want to have a process where you are attracting the types of accounts that you want. That's the power of micro niching. If you're interested in understanding how to micro niche, reach out to me. Buy the digital course, $197, Millionaire Producer School. Or frankly, better yet, because we go so much more in depth, Q&A back and forth with the participants. They're emailing me, permissionproducerschool.com. It's coming up March 3rd. It goes through the 7th. Do not miss it. One of the producers that I spoke to, in it, he went through it for the first time. He's an employee health benefits producer. We got 10 BORs. 10 BORs since, had it 4 months ago. So the opportunity there, frankly, is great if you really focus on what you're trying to do. So that first one, micro niching. The second thing, I mentioned it just a moment ago, but it's your timeline of services. It is a 12-month timeline of services. 12 months timeline of services. However, it's actually more than that. It's more like a 15-month timeline of services because it needs to be broken out into 2 different parts at a minimum. It may even be 3, but it should be broken out into 2 parts. The first part is what you're going to do before the policy comes up for renewal. It's your renewal strategy. Which carriers you're going to go to. What carriers are you going to access for each line of coverage? What wholesalers? What intermediaries? What's your submission going to look like? What is your overall process for the renewal? Why are you going to these carriers? It's also going to talk about how you are renegotiating with these carriers, how you are talking to these underwriters and really helping the underwriter to see why more credit should be given and less debit should be attached. We want to be able to show the prospect in black and white on a piece of paper exactly what you're going to do in these 3 to 4 months before the account comes up for renewal, how you are going to negotiate and drive down the cost, how you are going to show up with multiple options, that you're not going to allow premium creep to jump into the situation with these underwriters who just, they auto renew it. They just kind of premium creep a little bit each year. That little premium creep. You're not going to let that happen. When I see premium creep, I see a lazy underwriter and a lazy producer. That's what I see. There's no reason for premium creep. It should never, ever, 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 ever happen. That should never happen. So you want to be able, in that first part of your time out of services, to be able to demonstrate to an insurance buyer why you should be the person who represents these carriers to the marketplace. You, not somebody else, not the incumbent, not another insurance agent. You have to be able to do that. That's what the first part of the time out of services does. The second part of the time out of services is 12 months. 12 months. That second part is 12 months, but it also has another aspect to that 12 months because it's the 12 months of what you're going to be doing for them during those 12 months. What services are they going to get? A workers' compensation workers' compensation claims manager to look over their claims? Are you going to do any kind of safety or loss control? Are you going to have some kind of a micro-niched differentiation service, like helping them find new drivers, or helping them find new employees? Are you going to put on some seminars for them? Whatever it is. It explains what you're going to do and who specifically is going to do it, and specifically when it's going to happen. June 17th, Bob Smith is going to come, our workers' compensation claims manager, and go over the open claims with you. It's very specific. It helps the insured to see you've thought through this process. Okay? And when it's very strategic and it's written down, they just assume you're going to do it because nobody else writes this stuff down. Everybody else is just talking. We're a good agent. We're a good agency. We have really good people. We're going to take care of you. We're going to provide different services. It's going to be really nice. Like, everybody talks, but the timeline of services puts it down in black and white so they can see. Now, there might be a second half of that second half because it's going to be coming up for renewal again. You're going to service the account for those 12 months. And your team's going to service it, but then you have the renewal again that's probably going to take place in the last 3 months out of those 12. And so again, you are going over the renewal process with your prospect on what you're going to do during that 3 months before it comes up for renewal, so that you can make sure that other competitors don't even need to contact them. There's no reason that the insured needs to meet with another agent because you already have a process on how you're going to attack the account with different carriers and so forth. It probably looks very similar to what the very first half of it was. But this timeline of services, if you do this right, it gets more broker of record letters than anything. Did you just hear what I just said? I just said the timeline of services gets you more broker of record letters than anything. Now, why do I say that? Because my clients literally tell me they get more broker of record letters because of the timeline of services and how it's structured and set up than anything else. It should have a big brag, statement attached to it. It should have pictures of the type of micro niche industry you're going after. It should have wording that is focused on that type of an industry. If you're going after plumbers, it should have plumbing language in there. It should have pictures of plumbers. You should have a bragging statement, what I call the big brag statement, helping plumbing subcontractors lower workers' compensation insurance by up to 32% in the first year. Whatever your big brag statement is, it needs to be focused. It's micro niche on what you're going after, and all of the services have that feel for it. Why? Because if you can get your prospect to feel like you are the best choice of which agent to do business with, they will then likely see why you should be the one to represent them to the carriers rather than somebody else. So remember, that first one is micro niching. The second one, timeline of services. And again, incidentally, I have the timeline of services available in my digital course, Millionaire Producer School, which if you buy the digital course, it's $197 and you get full access to it for a year. However, I spend a lot of time talking about it in my Permission Producer School, which is again coming up on March 3rd, because it's that important. It literally is that important. It's the difference between what I would say as sort of an amateur versus an absolute professional in his or her career. So we definitely spend time, and you're going to see examples of the things that we offer or can put on a timeline of services. So I'm just telling you, if you're really considering going after Permission Producer School, March 3rd through March 7th, go there, permissionproducerschool.com, check it out and get registered. Finally, the third thing I want to talk about. The third thing here is the idea of cadence. Cadence. We want to figure out how often are we going to be reaching out to these accounts inside of our micro niche, and what's the cadence? The follow-up of your prospecting is really where the money is made, because you know this as well as I do, that it's very rare that you actually are able to speak to a decision maker the very first time you contact that insured. If you're making telephone calls the first time, you might be speaking to a gatekeeper and not a decision maker. You might leave a voice message. It might just ring and nobody picks up. So it's just one of those things where you might not get a chance, likely, to actually speak to a decision maker. Therefore, everything is going to be, for the most part, follow-up. What is your follow-up program? Do you have one? Hello? Do you have one? I'm asking you a question. You know why? Because most insurance agents do not have not only a structured prospecting approach on what they're going to say, how they're going to say it, what it looks like, what's the messaging, but the vast majority of insurance agents do not have a cadence for follow-up. Your follow-up program is when you're going to do something and at what time frame between other communications. In other words, let's say, for example, you're going to do cold calls for the first thing, emails for the second one, and maybe you're going to do walk-in visits for the third thing. Those are the three things: telephone, email, and walk-in visits. Okay? You need to figure out when so if you're going to make the phone call, when will you send the email? Is it going to be right away? Are you going to wait 24 hours? Are you going to send an email after 48 hours? What's the cadence? Then what's the third thing and how long into it? Are you going to do a walk-in visit, say, a week after that? Or is it going to be something, right after that? Like, where are you going to do? If you're making, say, 50 phone calls the first day, you're going to send emails, maybe 50 emails the second day. Maybe the next 3 days, you're going to be out actually seeing these accounts doing walk-in visits. That's the cadence. Walk-in visits is the hardest one to actually scale. I mean, it just takes the most amount of time. If you were doing something that's much more scalable, like say telephone calls, email, social media, it's a whole lot easier to set up a cadence system where you can actually like get things done, and you can get it done in a more condensed time period. You should have a drip campaign in regards to accounts that don't come up right away. And again, this is just kind of the whole cadence of it. There's a lot that's there, but I do believe that your success very much sort of hinges on the maturity of your prospect list. If you don't have a prospect list that is X-dated, you don't know when these accounts come up for renewal, I would suspect you probably don't have a very good hit ratio in regards to people wanting to meet with you. It's so much easier to get people to meet with you if they're in the buying window. So if you have a lot of accounts or even any accounts that are on your prospect list that are not in that buying window, the cadence should at a minimum be they're receiving an email from you once a month. At a minimum. It could be more than that. I might even do it every 3 months, depending upon how many it is, what sort of email structure I want to set up, and so forth. But it's the cadence. Then once it hits that, say, 90-day mark beforehand, they start getting emails every week from me, once every week. So boom, 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 boom. Like they're going to get hit a lot more in that short amount of time. Why? Because I need to be one of the first agents that they meet with. Because if another agent gets in there first and somehow talks about the BOR or whatever and gets it, then if I come in second, it's less. I mean, I'm probably not going to get the BOR because they already gave it to some other guy or gal. So you want to be one of the first ones that get in there. You want to be the first one, not just one of them that they meet with. So this whole cadence, why I feel this is important is because there are agents out there that actually prospect, which is great. Thumbs up. I mean, keep it up. Keep prospecting. They might make 25 calls a day, 30 calls, but what happens then is this is what I usually see, is they'll make the calls, but then not too much is done on that account for several weeks after that. So they might make a call and leave a voice message, and then they just keep picking away at their prospect list, but they didn't have a follow-up program. So they might have, say, 750 accounts on their prospect list. So they just sort of work through calling on 750 accounts, and it might take a month to get through it. And so they don't get back to the first ones until they're all the way through, and it might be a full month. And I say, this is one of the main reasons why you're not getting a lot of traction with your prospects. What I would consider doing, now please listen up. I'm going to talk to you about some gold here, flat out gold. Okay. So if you've got a prospect list that is not X-dated yet, say it's 750 accounts, whatever, I would say don't work on most of them right now. Work on about 100, 150. And then what we're going to do is we want to try and reach out to them in a very condensed time period. Let's just call it, say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe it's 30 days, whatever it is. You come up with that number, and then you're going to figure out what your cadence is, and you might reach out to them 4 different times a week. You're going to maybe give them a call, do an email the next day, social media the day after that. You might send them a text message on Thursday, and then maybe follow it up with another email on Friday. You're going to hit them bam, 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 bam. And we're going to do it in a condensed cadence amount of time, because the goal is to overwhelm the insured with quality engagement, quality connections, so that then they respond. Hey, did get your email. I got your first email. I got your voicemail. I'm going to reply to this one because I like what you had to say here. You know what? Let's go ahead and meet. That's what we want. We want to have that rapid fire approach in a small condensed amount of time. And that tends to get very good results. Then once you're done with that 150, you can kind of go to the next 150 and sort of work from there. It works so much better than having a larger prospect list that kind of feels a bit overwhelming and you don't really know what you're working on at any given time and what you're supposed to do on the accounts next because there's just too many to focus on. Let's break it down. Fewer accounts, condensed cadence, you're going to have better results. So I do teach this kind of stuff in the Permission Producer School, by the way. This is where I spend my time focusing in regards to successful prospecting, because that's where I spend my time. I don't spend time on helping you figure out how to service your clients. There's other people that do it. They do it better than me. I don't want to spend my time doing that. That doesn't get me excited. I spend my time on getting prospects to say yes. Yes. That's what's fun. I love it when a prospect says yes. I love it when a prospect says, let's do it. I want to sign up. That's fun. The win. That's why I have a producer mindset, and that's why you do too. If you don't like to hear the word yes, you are not a producer. If you don't like to hear people doing business with you, yes, let me sign up. That's fun. That's adrenaline. Doing renewals all day, man, that does not make me excited. Winning new business is exciting to me. Winning new business. Hearing the word yes, that's fun. Okay? So that's where I spend my time. A to Z. Figuring out what to go after, what our messaging should be, what's going to be our differentiation, what is our Bugatti service going to look like, what are we saying at the first appointment, what does our timeline of services look like, what are the open-ended questions we're asking in that first appointment, how are we transitioning to the broker of record letter, how are we getting the insured to give us access to the carriers that we want, how are we putting together a submission, what does it contain, how are we negotiating with underwriters, how are we presenting our proposal to the insured, when are we going to present our proposal to the insured, in what order are we going to present it, what's going to be the first 2 pages in our proposal, how do we transition to the ask in the first appointment, all of that stuff and more. All of that is like from the very beginning of trying to figure out what to go after to actually getting a signature when they bind. That's where I play. That's my fun. That's what I teach my insurance clients to do in one-on-one coaching. That's what I teach my retainer clients to do. That's where I focus my time. And that is what we're going to be going over in the Permission Producer School starting March 3rd, 2025, which today I'm recording this on the 18th. I think it's going to come out on Tuesday, the 25th. So you'll have about a week to actually sign up when this thing comes out on the 25th. You guys ought to sign up, permissionproducerschool.com. How much does it cost? Go check it out. Not much. It's not much. For how much value you're going to get? permissionproducerschool.com. March 3rd to March 7th, 2.5 hours per day, virtual sales training where I will teach you everything on how to build a $1 million or more book of business. That's Permission Producer School. Hope you guys check it out. So remember 3 things: micro niche, timeline of services, condense your cadence. Micro niche, timeline of services, condense your cadence. Do those 3 things. My friends, you're going to have some significant success going forward. My name is Charles Specht. I am the president and CEO of Permission Network, where I teach and train insurance agents just like you how to build a $1 million or more book of business through signed broker of record letters. This is the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast.